Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duuuval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Travis, I hope your ears were burning just a bit on Friday morning because your name did come up on the Storm Surge podcast because, well, for one, we are covering somebody who was in the Jacksonville Jaguars preseason 2 years ago in Sam Jackson. And then on top of that, you know, the adoption that we'll talk about later. I don't want to spoil too much, but of course, there's some cross-promote opportunity with the Orlando Storm, such as that wedge, which, by the way, Saturday night, 8 p.m., BP and I will be in the building as the Storm host the Louisville Kings. But enough about that. Storm Surge podcast. Like, subscribe there, blah, 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 UFL, yay. Spring football. Meetings, owners' meetings. They're not winter meetings because this isn't the winter, but the owners meetings did take place and a lot of stuff came out of there. Now, granted, we're a little slow to react to some of it, but hey, we were talking to JP Acosta. If you don't catch up to that, Duval divers, by now, set
so good.
up and
so
all
good.
that stuff. Yeah, it was
talking about all the different prospects in the draft. I mean, there's so many. There's so many shorts that are going to come out over the next 3 weeks, just from that podcast, because he knows
shorts come up over the past 3 days. What are you talking about?
Every prospect. It was so good.
Yeah, no, he went completely off. And listen, I might have to throw a challenge there to my guy Emery Hunt to come on the show from CBS Sports, because you don't want JP Acosta stealing it all from me now, Emery. Listen, you can make that my next birthday present. It'd be great. Anyways,
but the NFL owners meeting in Phoenix, bro. And I know there's a lot of news to come out of it, but we got the Orlando news, we got all the different quotes from all the players, but we got to start off with the hate that AFC South hate across all the teams. And I know fans love drama, and nothing gets folks going like that AFC South uncut 100% hate. And unfortunately, I got some bad news, folks, man. For all you drama seekers, Tennessee Titans head coach, former San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh says that the beef between he and Liam Coen is basically done about Robert Saleh's public sign stealing allegations. That they say it's been squashed between them. He says, we're good. I have an appreciation for Liam. Like I said, I used the wrong word, quote unquote, when I was trying to give him a compliment, and that's all under the bridge. We've talked about it. We put it behind us. And that stinks, because again, everyone loves the fights, everyone loves the drama, everyone loves the beef between those two. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right?
26 and the 49ers 21.
Let's go. Duval.
And
all that is fantastic. Here's what I think happened, Travis, right? Speaking from the perspective of the Niner fan in the room, what I think happened, and granted, I don't know whether we without rehashing the whole story itself, I don't know whether Kyle Shanahan's double down made it worse or any of that. I don't care. But yes, I think Robert Saleh respects the way that Liam Coen didn't back down. And a matter of fact, I'm willing to bet the conversations that they had off screen, so to speak, that he's referring to was like, man, listen, I was just hyping my team up. I'm a first-year head coach over here. I'm trying to get that cred. I can't help but wonder. And by the way, Robert Saleh was in that same position not too long ago, being the head coach of the New York Jets in a rough spot, trying to turn a franchise around. Now, one would argue Liam Coen's campaign's going a little better than that. But all of that to say, I'm sure there's a lot more they have in common than that they don't.
Brother, you just showed me another reason why Robert Saleh was not the right head coach for the Tennessee Titans. That's all I heard. I can lie to you all day, but that man had a prime opportunity to be like, we don't like them. He could have come in like Ben Johnson right now and just saying straight up, we don't like this team. I don't like their coach. I don't like their mama them. I don't like their auntie them. And he would have been great, and the Tennessee fan base would have loved him. The locker room would have respected that vibe, and it would have been just great. And he took the reasonable adult way out. I'm going to say this clearly. He took the right person-to-person route. He took the wrong drama entertainment and or making my guys feel like it's everyone else against them mentality. He had that opportunity and he fumbled the bag. And for me, that's just another opportunity to say, you missed that. You missed it. You missed that shot, bro.
I'm not here to say you're wrong. I think your analysis has its merit, of course. These two teams don't like each other. We've heard Josh Hines-Allen talk about it. We don't like us, they don't like them. It's very simple. That being said, I'm going to be more convinced of how, shall we say, deep that all runs during the season and see what comes out then before I truly sign off it. But yeah, I get how that's a disappointing first step. And who knows? At day's end, it's the Titans. Maybe he just don't need that kind of smoke dealing with the press when he's got all those repairs to make over there in Tennessee. I could see that side of it too.
I mean, that's maybe when, and again, we will see. And then obviously we got the second biggest news. I mean, probably the biggest news for most people. It impacts your budget, it impacts your wallet, it impacts how much you got to drive. And we've been talking about it for the last year at this point. Like the Jaguars being approved by NFL owners to play in Orlando. And the mayor of Jacksonville, Donna, she had a few things to make sure she said to the Orange County residents in Orlando. But had a quick clip of that from the presser on Monday, I believe it was.
I just have to start out and be clear about one thing. I've heard a little talk since I got here. A couple people came up to me and said, there's been some talk that we really can't use the Duuuval cheer while we're here. It has to find something like orange or something like that. That's not happening, okay? That is a non-negotiable. Duval has to stay.
Let's be clear about one thing, okay? Ain't nobody really suggested orange, okay? That's a straw man. That's funny as heck. Okay, this is like raisins in the potato salad. Okay, that's a straw man. That's never happened. Not one single person has seen potato salad with raisins in it. Okay, and if you have, brother, comment. But no one.
You hang around with too many black people. I'm just be honest with you.
And if that's my blind spot, so be it. Fine. But I have never seen potato salad with raisins in it. I have never heard anybody seriously consider orange. That's the dumbest ish in the world. But as a side note too, then she suggests, try that tongue twister, she suggests that Liam Coen be the teacher of telling more people how to do Duval. Yo, what we doing here? How you gonna get Duval to be the person you put out front for teaching? They're digging. What are we thinking right now?
That is the perfect person to teach it. The person that you saw go from Duval to saying it right. Like if he can do it, you can do it. That's what it is. It's like the new guy teaching somebody how to break dance after watching the movie. At the end, he gets it. That's what I'm saying. At the end of the movie, he figures it out, and that's okay. So no,
I've made that statement and seen that verbal evidence as well, provided by a friend of the show, Jamal St. Cyr, by the way, early on in the process of him delivering a very solid Duval. So that's fair.
Nah, man. So like, and you ain't seen the raisins in the potato salad. I'm sorry. I went to University of Central Florida in Orlando, and then I went to Northern Michigan University, which was the whitest of white schools, and we absolutely saw raisins in the potato salad, sir. So I'm just saying,
I would say bring me pictures, but I wouldn't want anybody to suffer through that.
I'm good. I'm good. So yeah, you definitely invited to the barbecue, and that's why. That's why I know you got a lot of the black people around you. But no, man, Jaguars at Orlando, Camping World Stadium. They'll have their $400 million renovation that's already started. It started in February of this year to that stadium. So it should feel reasonably new. And also hearing the vibes that even the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are talking about potentially using Camping World Stadium as their stadium when they're doing their renovations. That's a option that's on the table for those guys. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah, so shout out to the eyesore on I-4. You made some major renovations over the past 6 months. Also moving over from that Spirit Halloween headquarters to maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars headquarters. Obviously, we're joking a little bit, but you know what it is.
I mean, I've now officially been on 2 podcasts that have taken the belated April's Fool's Days vibes with the eyesore. Like I just had a conversation with BP on the Storm Surge about how that space is supposed to become a multi-floor Buc-ee's.
That'd be dope. That would be dope, though. That actually might be. That's where it's at if they ever finish it. But no, the other big part out of the NFL owners meeting before we get into some of the comments about the individual players was, per Coach Coen, the Jaguars, they're going to look to have joint practices with the Buccaneers this season. Similar to that 2024 season under Doug Peterson. So yeah, look out for any of the schedule updates or news here and on BigCatCountry.com. If they can lock it in, because that's still dependent upon the schedule, dependent upon the NFL and everything else. And also discussing the schedule, the Jaguars, they also asked the NFL to have their bye week after playing those 2 consecutive games in London in this season in 2026. So again, that's in the NFL schedule maker's hands now. But you got to believe they're probably going to approve that request simply because of Jaguars stadium situation and also playing 2 games over there. They normally try to make sure that happens. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that piece.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, logistically, cool. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a difficult year, to a certain extent for the Jaguars to be in transition. It's not fun. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's I think they're doing the best they can to make it as comfortable as possible. And I dig it.
So we'll see what happens, who the opponents are and everything else, and maybe they'll get that pushed through, but you have to believe they probably will.
Yeah.
And then the biggest part is the comments on like the running back room. That was the big one for me.
Let's get meaty.
Liam Coen. So per Liam Coen, and again, I'm not going to show you the quote. I'll just read it verbatim because I don't want to get flagged on YouTube or whatever for copyright or whatever. But when talking about the running back room, Liam Coen said, yeah, I think the combination of Bashaw Tootin, Hines-Allen, and Chris Rodriguez, as it stands out without any more additions, even, DJ Dallas competing in there. I look at personally at rushing yards over expected, and yards after contact is what I give a crap about personally, because it's like, what are you doing outside of what we're blocking, and what does that look like? Because I can't coach that. Guys that get more than what's there, I can't coach that. The guys that break tackles at a high level, whether it's via Reggie Bush, whether it's with stiff arms, jumping over them, running through them, I don't care how you do it. I just care that you do it, because I can't coach it. So and so when you have and do things that I can't coach on a consistent level, to me, that's important for players, because it's like, I can't coach you to do that. If the run is blocked for 8 yards and we get 8 yards, well, it's kind of like, I need more. I want to see more. So yeah, we may not be able to get every single aspect of everything Travis Etienne Jr. was able to do for us in every single way in run and pass protection and whatever it is. But I got to believe that we can run the ball effectively next year with the guys that we have. And
fascinating stuff. First of all, I'm going to give us a pat on the back, because we talked about yards after first contact going back to the initial mega campaign we called 4 and 24. Okay. Then we revitalized it in 25 using that stat, just like Liam Coen would. We was talking that stat before Liam Coen came to town, and now he's using that as his driving force. I kind of dig that.
It's always been an issue that I always thought Travis Etienne struggled with, and it was something that people were just like, I'm being too hard on him or whatever else, and I'm just like, it's just not his style, and that's okay. You can still be an effective back, and I think Liam Coen proved that last year. Yeah. I can use you in great ways. It may not be the ways that I want my running backs to be used normally, but it doesn't mean that I can't still make you effective in the ways that you are strong in, if that makes sense.
So let me put a sobering spin on this. When Liam Coen and Jimmy Stones were evaluating this, they said, okay, Travis and Kyle told us to put a line together that could get us to at least the middle of the ground. Of course, I made that up. The middle of the ground on yards before first contact. We delivered on that, and Etienne did a bit better, but not enough for the money we got. I'm not paying a dude where the line's doing that much work and you only get me that much after the fact. That's what I hear.
You're getting me what I schemed up, but you know who else can get me what I schemed up? Probably anybody else. And I don't have to pay them $14 million to do it, or $11 million to do it in this case, I guess. Like, that's the big
2 rookies that can do that already in Bashaw and Q and Hines-Allen. And I got my old guy, C-Rod, Chris Rodriguez, to do it too.
Yeah, so when we look at those numbers, because this is what the head coach of the team is telling you, his guys, like what he prefers, what he looks at for his running backs, yards after contact per attempt. Chris Rodriguez was second in the NFL last year with the Washington Commanders team that had Marcus Mariota starting at quarterback for a good portion of the season. Again, second in the league after yards after contact per attempt. That's of qualified rushers. So basically anyone who had over 100 attempts. Put that there just so you know, Bashaw Tutin didn't have 100 attempts. I believe he only had 83 on the season. But if he had been qualified, he would have been around 12th in the league with 3.6 yards per carry. Travis Etienne was 3.3 yards a carry, which was 29th in the league. Like, obviously, that's not his strength. Once you made contact, for the most part, he went down without falling forward, if that makes sense. So that was a big part for him. And rushing yards over expectation. I know there's a lot of things that goes into that, but the gist of it is hey, this is what Liam Coen is saying. Hey, if it's schemed up for 4 yards a carry and you're getting me 4 yards a carry, you're not adding anything special to this. You're not breaking tackles often or frequently enough at the second level, etc. Chris Rodriguez was 14th in the league at plus 0.7 yards, whereas Travis Etienne was 32nd in the league at plus 0.2. And Bashaw Tutin was negative 0.2, which would have been around 38th. But again, Bashaw Tutin also was a short yardage back and taking much of those snaps in the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. So there's some give and take there. But just being real, Chris Rodriguez was a short yardage back in Washington's offense, and he still somehow found a way to be 14. So the stats are the stats, and this is what your coach is telling you is important. And Travis Etienne wasn't really great in either of those areas.
What a fantastic take, Travis. I would add this, too, about Bashaw, too. And there were a number of runs where he was literally one shoestring or one step
multiple
away from breaking it to the hizzy, which would have dramatically raised that number.
Yep, and that's that one of those runs, and you're looking at him differently. And we talked about that like a few weeks back. So he will have the opportunity, he will have the runway, but it's not to say Chris Rodriguez is going to go away, and Chris Rodriguez could honestly be that surprise. Chris Rodriguez could be what Bashaw Tutin was early season last year for the fantasy football community. Though everyone's like, I don't know. Maybe he might take the role. You never know. So we'll see in this offseason.
This is going to stay a committee. That's where I stand. It's
going to stay a committee, and it's going to stay a conversation for sure until like the middle of the season, probably.
I'm all right with that. Listen,
so
now, if we're having the conversation of who pounds the rock in a playoff scenario where you're always trying to keep the best guy at all times, that's a separate convo. But this is a committee, and it's a solid one at that. I'll go with that.
I think I actually agree. Let's listen to this BTJ conversation. I mean, we're
doing this still. Okay.
It's not that conversation. It's more about just, hey, the coach had comments about BTJ. We just want to talk about it for just a little bit, So Ryan O'Halloran put this on the socials from that conversation that he had with the media, and Ryan was there in Phoenix at the owners meeting with Brian Thomas Jr. This is a great opportunity for us to look at it with BT this offseason. There are true areas where we can improve. So let's go attack it with relentless pursuit, and let's not worry about the results and what happened last year. And overall, from me, I initially had my thoughts like, all right, cool. Yeah. They don't worry about what happened last year. We're going to build this thing up from the bottom up. We thought you could run an entire route tree. Maybe you weren't ready for that. Maybe we need to kind of spoon feed you different aspects of the offense, no different than what we were doing with Travis Hunter. Find out what you do best. Find out what we got to work on. I fully understand all that, but I got to give Notorious Dre all the credit on X, because he put up the Michael Irvin, comments from a few years back. You either run the slant or we run back to the ghetto comment, because that very much so felt like what this is. They're going to have to build BT up, and that's not a problem because they have him under team control for at least another 3 years. Mm-hmm. And he's a young receiver with an explosive ability to take off the top of a defense. So like from overall, they're in a good situation, but yet got some work to do this offseason.
There's a lot of good you pull out of that. For me, it's plain and simple. Liam Coen is now officially said out loud, good thing you cheap.
Good thing you cheap. We got time. Well, good thing you cheap, but yes, we also have time.
Right. BTJ is cheaper in salary because that time exists. These two things coexist 100%.
Yeah. So that's the big piece of it is like, all right, cool. They got time to figure it out with BT. And he's going to be in the door. This is not a situation where everybody keeps intimating that he's going to be gone and traded and whatever else. As the draft gets closer, it feels like that's not happening.
I'll say this too. I'll stand on this part of the business. Like, I know I'm being tongue in cheek and talking about the cheap. I don't mean to imply BTJ won't improve. Matter of fact, I'm gonna stand on business with this. I think he does.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a matter of if. I think it's a matter of when he proves. Here's the question he has to answer, Travis. When he improves, will it be enough to match his value when it comes time to make that decision?
I mean, that's going to be an interesting conversation to figure out, though. We're going to learn together, I guess. But
we're not going to learn today, but it'll be down the line.
But we will learn together.
Right.
And then he also had his comments on Ventrell Miller, which, I mean, John Shipley, shout out John Shipley, Jaguars on that side. Yeah, he wrote about it in his write-up, and a few people have actually written about it since then. But the gist of it is the arrow is pointing up on Ventrell Miller, and it's going to be his role or his opportunity to kind of take the reins of that position. So what Liam said in reference to Ventrell was, I think there's a lot of room to grow, a lot of room for growth there. I think that Ventrell, when he was asked to play a lot of meaningful snaps last year, we saw some really good things, and that, that's some things that we can continue to kind of coach off of, which, just pause for a second. That to me sounds very much exactly how they sounded about Devin Lloyd coming into the season last year, right?
Yeah, okay.
Right. It's the same thing. But back to this quote. And I think anytime you can give a player confidence without telling them anything, like right now, if you're him and we haven't signed anybody yet, you should say, well, at least they believe in me. At least they think that I can do it. And now it's on him and us to do it together. And also, like, dude, now it's time. Yeah, now it's time to truly go take it over. There's going to be an opportunity there, and I think Ventrell has made of the right stuff, and I think he cares enough about it from a we above me standpoint that he's going to put the time in and do it, and I'm excited about what that could look like. And again, that's the arrow pointing up. They're saying, hey, you may have competition later, but as it currently stands, this is your role. Take the ownership of it. This is the runway is there, like they talked about, like James Gladstone talked about last year with the rookie class. The runway is there for you to take control of the position, but it's not going to be given to you. You still got to go out there and earn it. We think you got the right stuff. Go earn it. Cool. Right. Good luck.
This is what I love about Liam Coen right now off the field. This is the same guy that said to officials, "Are you bleeping drunk?" But then also lifts up his dudes like this. And I'm not even going to get into him drilling the J on the Pat McAfee show. That's a whole other bit of amazing from Liam Coen.
Yep.
Well, y'all, if you're listening to the pod, jump to the YouTube channel, go right to about the 22.5-minute point. Check out what Travis did to make me laugh right there, because it was genuinely funny. But the way he's framing this is beautiful, because here's the thing. What I see as a fan, as an analyst, as a talking head, dismiss me. I've never played NFL ball. I'm cool with that. But he's there because they're playing Ventrell Miller isn't just trying to strike lightning and get another lottery ticket that hits like they did with Devin Lloyd. And we all remember how down I was on Devin Lloyd. Whoops. Yep. So all y'all were too. Stop it. I was just down more than you, so therefore I'm even more wrong. But the punchline, guys, you can't come out there and say, well, I mean, I bought more lotto tickets. Good thing they cheap, because I might get a lot of money out. No, that's not what he framed it as, the belief piece. When in reality, he's handcuffed to believe, in my opinion, to recover from the fiscal crimes of Trent Baalke.
Yeah.
But right. Don't tell Ventrell I said that, because I want him to do good too. I don't want to get into his confidence. Not that he's listening to me, but that's what I like about what Coen said, is he framed it saying, bro, the belief is there. You're part of my plan to rescue this franchise. That's powerful stuff, man.
It really is. And that's where this bad boy like truly lands, because I said this a few weeks back. I do believe that they actually do want Ventrell Miller to earn this starting spot. And not only that, I do believe that they want him to play out of his mind. They want him to play like this is going to be like the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be linebacker you. You know how like FSU is with the cornerbacks or whatever else. Like
Paul Posluszny out of Penn State, linebacker you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's what they want, because not only that, he's on the last year of his contract, and they love guys on the last year of that contract because they can either, one, sign him for moderately cheap in the middle of the season or towards the end of the season, which I would not rule out. If Ventrell Miller had a great first 8 games and all of a sudden was your starting linebacker, man, he was playing like crazy, like with Jacoby Myers, I guess, and all of a sudden you can sign him for 60% of what you would at the end of the year. They could do that, or they could play the comp pick game.
I see where you're going. You lock him in after the first 8 games if he's doing well, so he can't Devin Lloyd you at the end of the year and get the bag if he maintains it. There's something to that.
Or you don't resign him and you can play the comp pick game and you're right back in it. And it's okay, because this draft class right now is still super deep. I mean, you got Jordan Reed, like, shout out, like, comments on the fact that this class is so deep for off-ball linebackers, where whether it's anywhere from, Averill Reese all the way down to Harold Perkins Jr. or anyone in between. When we know the guys who are favorites in Jacksonville, Jacob Rodriguez, Josiah Trotter, Kyle Lewis, etc. There's so many options available in this draft class, whatever your style, whatever your fit is, that you can still draft a guy late and have them be developed behind Ventrell, where it's not necessarily his role. He's still got to earn it, but the rookies could be like right behind him, if that makes sense. No different than the Travis Etienne, Bashaw Tootin situation. You draft the guy, you give him a few snaps, and then the guy takes over the role the next year. I'm not against that either, if that makes sense.
Well, and then also we have to cite Jake Golday as a guy that JP Acosta mentioned on Wednesday with the Duval dive here. I like that point too. There's a good crop that you could still build on. We still have Jalen McLeod somewhere in there possibly as an option. Jack Kaiser might develop. The fact that they've hedged their bets in such a fashion, because the linebacker position is the one that I believe currently, I'm going to say something controversial potentially, the linebacker position is the thing that's in the biggest flux right now. I would have thought it was at corner at one point. I might have even said it on this show, but the more I think about it, the more I feel like the linebacker spot is in flux, simply because of what happened with Yasir Abdullah and Jalen McLeod, because we still don't really know what's going on with Jack Kaiser, and Devin Lloyd's gone, and Foye Oluokun's another season older, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
When you're talking about the depth included, I can understand that argument, because you lost one of your starting guys, and then you still don't exactly know what you have as far as the depth is concerned. I'm with you.
That's why they signed Gardner.
Yeah, because otherwise I definitely would have gone with cornerback, or at least the outside cornerback aspect, but they did keep most of those guys. Unless you want to look at the secondary combined, then that's a different conversation. That's way more guys. So
I particularly said corner by design to reduce the volume and artificially lift the linebacker argument, because the safeties are all over the place in a way too, but that's a whole other question. We can say that.
I see what you're putting down. I got you. And then the Travon, the Travon comments from Coach Coen. I mean, if you read about it on Big Cat Country, shout out Gus Lowe for that great article. Basically, Liam Coen wants Aaron Donald-like habits from Travon Walker. And boy, okay. So if you haven't seen the quote, or if you haven't seen the videos on the socials, Coen was asked a question about Travon Walker, who the team has been in negotiations with him this offseason, reportedly, from multiple reports. And just basically were asked about the fact that Travon is constantly being compared against Aiden Hutchinson since he was drafted, since that Trent Baalke decision to draft one of Walker over Hutch. Yeah. And Liam said he hadn't seen those comparisons bother Travon, nor has he even brought it up. But Cohen's next comments were the one that had like all of Duval kind of fired up on the socials. Like, basically, I'm going to say it verbatim. Coen: I had an almost 2-hour meeting with Travon at the end of the season. Just what that looked like in terms of dominating. Like, I was with Aaron Donald in LA, and we literally had to take him out of practice in order for us to gain yards on offense. And so if you want to get where you want to go and where we want you to go and where you can go, I need to be taking you out of practice so that we can operate on offense. I want that kind of destruction and mindset and mentality. And he was on the same page about it. And I'm like, okay, so you're setting the bar. All right. So after a question about Travon Walker always getting comparisons to Aiden Hutchinson, Coen turns around and immediately sets the bar for Walker for a 10-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year in Aaron Donald. Now, he did later circle back. I want to be clear. He did circle back and clarify that he was primarily talking about like his habits, like not talent. Just this is him verbatim, not talent, not anything about length and size in any way. Elite habits, elite practice participation, game participation, the way that you practice on a day by day basis. I'd better be taking you out of practice for us to operate. You should disrupt the entire thing in order for us to operate. I want that. And oh boy, that's a bar being set, bro. I mean, you've seen Aaron Donald.
I have thoughts, yeah, obviously. And I'm glad that Liam Coen made it clear that I'm not asking you to be a Hall of Famer immediately. That's impossible.
Okay.
There's a few things I absolutely love. First of all, I'm going to put another pat on the back years later here. I tried to tell people that Travon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson are not comparable players. Stop comparing them. I believe you were on that train too. Yep. And I want to open face, like laugh in front of your face, laugh at all the people that were hating on Travon Walker being picked at the point that he was. I'm just saying what I'm saying. If you don't like it, deal with it. That's my opinion. I'm taking my victory lap because Liam Coen, with those statements, said I could. But here's the other part I like. It's the Tom Brady defense. What are you talking about? Yeah, hear me out. The non-GOAT but Hall of Fame worthy Tom Brady, I said what I said, got to where he got not based on physical prowess, but intellectual sharpness and determination, the likes of which we had never. There is no man more petty than Thomas Edward Patrick Bieber Brady. Okay, this dude would take. Oh, how are you doing today? What did you say to me? Like it was that kind of stuff, and I'm not even mad at it. This dude made it his life's mission to be playing quarterback at a high level at my age. What the bleep? He's looking for Travon Walker to build those habits, to do that stuff that you don't see off the field. And by the way, being physically gifted enough to do true damage like that. And here's where I think Liam Coen lands the plane. If you have those habits and are that physically talented, you might ascend to Aaron Donald level activity. And even if you don't, you'll be pretty bleeding good, and you're going to get this defense to be really damn dangerous.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. And I think if anyone knows anything about Aaron Donald, he's dominant, sure. But if you know anything about his practice habits, his workout habits, and all of that, even today, at this age, when he's retired multiple years back, like he's very similar to Pittsburgh Steelers, like James Harrison. Like he works out like a maniac. Like everyone knows this about him. Like the man has been retired for 2 seasons. He's 34 years old right now. And this year, folks are still writing articles and making videos about him and his workout plan and how difficult it is. Like, yes, Liam Coen laid down the gauntlet, and that's one heck of a goal to say, I need you to work out like a maniac. I need you to be like that guy. Like you said, Tom Brady, I would say Michael Jordan. It's the same comparison. I need you to be the guy who's never going to be outworked. And with your physical skill set, you could absolutely be one of the greats just if you add those habits to that physique, if that makes sense.
No, it all starts off the field to go from good to great. Because once you've made the NFL, you're clearly good.
Yeah.
To get to great, you got to do these things. And I love that he's calling for it.
So then we got the final, our segment for tonight is talking about, the streets are talking, bro. And I don't know if you've heard, the streets are saying things. And Mike DeRico, D-Rock with ESPN, he's with ESPN, right? Yeah.
Correct.
D-Rock with ESPN stated earlier this week on 1010XL that the word on the street was that Cole Van-Lanen's end of season injury, that week 18 injury when the Jaguars were going for those 4,000 yards for Trevor Lawrence passing, was a torn ACL, was what he was hearing, and that he heard that he had knee surgery after the season ended. Now, obviously, there's been no official confirmation of that, and there rarely is at this time of year. You just kind of hear it from the rumors and the insiders. But if that's true, that's the current rumor. If it's true, then Cole Van-Lanen would likely start the offseason on the PUP list. He could potentially be healthy by week 1, but that feels like a very quick turnaround. That's about 8 months, I guess, if you're talking a mid-January surgery to game 1, week 1. So there's obvious potential that he could start the year on IR, maybe even begin, to get going around the start of the season. That's what happened last year with, actually with Cole. That's what happened with him. That's what happened with Eric Armstead, with Mason Smith. Like all those guys started off either injured in the offseason, either on the PUP or on IR or something along those lines. And being in 100% football shape versus being in 100% I'm not injured, situation are a little bit different. We learned that last year from Mason Smith's situation, where he kind of never came back. So I didn't know if you heard that. I didn't even know if you had thoughts on the rumor.
Yeah, I absolutely do. For one, I think this prioritizes tackle in the draft more than we even had it before. And on mock draft 2.0, I believe we pulled tackle first. Now we look even smarter for doing so, right? I think I saw enough of this where the part this is what I think, and I get it wrong, apologize in advance, D-Rock, but he knew the surgery happened.
Yes.
He's not sure if it was an ACL.
That's
Regardless, there's still a whole lot of recovery associated here to have it happen at this point, right? Because you are just essentially 5 months out from the start of the NFL season, such that it
he did say the surgery occurred after the end of the season, so that could have been early January. That's why I said 8 months.
Yeah, you're right. From this point, and let me clarify. Yeah, from this point, it's 5 more months, I should say, that we're finding this out. Yeah, if he got the surgery back in January, that's obviously completely different.
Right.
And it may have even happened potentially before the playoff game, though I doubt it.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Timeline. The timeline does matter, but at the end of the day, when we start getting into the minutia of the timelines, I thought it was interesting to just look at the differences for all the different positions, all the different sports. Like ACL recoveries for offensive linemen and defensive linemen in the NFL, the normal recovery time frame is on average anywhere from 9 to 12 months, and that's not me saying it. That's actually based on a 25-year study of 81 offensive and defensive lines that took place back in 2015 by the American Institute of Orthopedic Surgeons. Like I actually do real work, y'all. I'm looking for this for y'all to make sure we
up in this humpy pumpy.
And they also did have a smaller study back in 2020 that produced similar results. So again, this is not just old information. I wanted to be sure I said this to you guys, and we can have the links in the chat if you guys want to take a look at it yourself. But the second study in 2020 included other NFL players, not just linemen. But over those 6 studies, it basically showed that in the NHL, most of the players return from injury, and they actually return reasonably early because they don't have that as much impact as far as on their legs, because they're skating, not necessarily running. Exactly. But whereas the offensive linemen are generally one of the positions where guys simply don't return to play. And that's not to say across the board, it's to say they return to play at a much lower rate than some of those other positions. So like fewer offensive linemen, fewer defensive linemen return to play than say like quarterbacks and running backs and receivers after they get an ACL injury. But those old linemen who do return to play, their recovery time is normally shorter than basically every position other than quarterback, because I guess they just don't have to have all the running and the cutting and everything else. They have
primarily, right? Yeah, exactly.
So it's not. So it generally doesn't impact their game in that way. And that I have the other image that shows you that outcome. Basically, it doesn't generally impact their recovery after they return. So they generally don't have like shorter careers or worse careers from the standard deviation or the average of the other guys. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on any of those. I just thought it was real interesting.
Yeah, it is. And what you're showing me there is, they return at a 15% lower rate than a wide receiver and a running back, both guys that are super dependent on cuts. I would imagine too that if you split that between receivers and running backs, that the running backs will be lower than the receivers as well. But here's the thing I would add to this. There's 2 primary reasons why that's a tougher recovery for offensive linemen in particular, right? One, it's because they're huge. Duh, I get that. There's more weight, there's more stress, there's more deterioration already existing from moving a hulking existence in a direction that you have to for the offensive line. The other piece is find me a motion that is less naturally inclined in football than a kick step. I'll help you. You won't do it. Even backpedaling is not the same as doing a kick step, where you got to stay wide and you have to be prepared for impact immediately, right? If you're backpedaling, you can control the size of the step. Heck, I know there are some dudes that I would come across back in my youth that were faster backpedaling than running forward, depending on the situation, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's the weirdest thing. But yeah, when you're hitting back in a kick step and then you're getting another hulking mass impacting you as well, that's further deterioration over and above. That's right. This is the former lineman / nurse's kid commenting on this. Okay. I may not have stayed on a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I did do all that stuff. So
if you're on average 310 pounds and you're then taking on and or catching the impact of another 250 to 300 pound guy on you have to be what's needed of an offensive lineman and their leg is more about the strength, and it's less agility, it's more strength, and all the other positions is a lot more speed. So that's why quarterbacks they have such a high return to play rate. It's because you're not focused even on the agility as much often. It's more just about just being able to stand up and kind of make the throws, whereas running backs is all about speed, wide receivers is about speed, linebackers and defensive linemen actually are some of the hardest ones to return because of all the cutting and everything else. O-lineman specifically is about strength. It's less, so that thing that does help them a little bit as long as you can just stay in the weight room. And then you have guys like Adrian Peterson who did return in 6 months. You have guys like Phillip Rivers who did return in 4 months. So like genetics will always trump science. But if you got that fountain of youth just coursing through your veins, then it is what it is. Like you're going to be all right. But these are the averages for most players. And from my perspective, it could be a very big reason why Walker Little is still on this roster, and even more than just general roster depth. You know what I mean? He could be your starter in week 1.
I was going to make the point that this preserves Walker Little's value in this locker room.
Yeah. I think for the moment, at least, it's going until they draft another guy in the draft and something like that. Then maybe they feel confident enough to move off of him, or maybe they just want to hold on to him until Van-Lanen returns, and then you can trade him in the season before the trade deadline and feel comfortable that way. Like there's so many options available. But again, that's all assuming this is a true report. We'll find out more once things become a little bit more official.
Just do what you can to not end up being the Chargers. That's all I'm saying.
Don't do that. Don't you put that on us, Ricky Bobby. Like that's not okay.
Hey, listen, for all the stuff that Liam Coen's already listened to us about, if he listens to that, he'll prepare for it. I'm helping, not hurting.
All right. I hear you. My goodness. Yeah, I don't even want that vibe on my just in the atmosphere. But yeah,
but listen, I mean, joking aside, that's the worst case scenario, and this is why we made the comment that we did about that draft pick that we made in mock draft 2.0, looking a lot more smart, right? This is that preventative measure to try to stop that from happening.
No, you got it. No, that's it. So, I mean, those were your main takeaways. And again, there was so much more. So check out, Gus Lowe's article on Big Cat Country. I'll also be writing an article this weekend talking about, the owners meeting comments and breaking down a few more of the comments that maybe we didn't talk about. So there's a lot there. But yeah, we should be good. And I believe we're going to have JP Acosta is going to be rejoining us on Monday. So y'all keep it locked in for that. But I mean, you guys already know where I can be found, bigcatcountry.com, on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. If you're listening to me right now, please stop, click that like button, click subscribe. If you want to become a member, you get early access to JP's, conversation that we're going to be having with him on Monday. So we love the members. We love all you guys because you guys give us the content to talk about. You guys continue to put this stuff out into the atmosphere, and that gives us, you let us know what the streets are talking about, and we appreciate you guys for it. But yeah, on the podcast side, please rate and review us, and also let them know where you can be found, bro.
Listen, you love your Jaguars. We help you do that. It's very simple. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, a student of the game. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out the Storm Surge podcast, rocking UFL coverage with my guy BP, who himself is from the shores of the St. John's up there in Jacksonville, by the way. We'll be covering the Orlando Storm throughout the season. Make sure you check that out. Episode 2 just dropped, so make sure you check that out. Of course, my work covering UCF with Locked On UCF and the UCF Night Zone. That stuff is going to be going in a lot of different directions. Spring football has started. The search for women's basketball's new head coach is happening. Coach of the year, Johnny Dawkins, supplants all the haters who were wanting him fired this time last year. A lot of movement. If you follow UCF, make sure you check that out, as well as my coverage of the Orlando Magic. and JP Acosta on Monday. Yay. So with all the above, we suspended mock draft Monday one week. I think you'll all will live. Okay. Yeah. So for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, for all you Duval divers and the Duval devout out there that keep this thing rolling the way it has been, this is Kyle Nash, the student of the game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.